Visionary Knox.
What's good, everybody? Nick Knox, aka the Visionary Knox, here again with another Knox Talks. Today I'm going to talk about addiction, and this is something that hits very close to home with me because, first of all, I'm 14 months in my recovery along clean from crack cocaine, which was my big addiction. And addiction has impacted my life since a very young age. But first and foremost, I want to start off by talking to you all because if any of you out there are struggling with addiction and battling with trying to quit or building a new life, I just want you to know it is possible. It is possible. It can be a reality. But now let me get one thing straight, because this mind state that I see now, the way that I feel about this issue, I did not feel this way along the whole journey of these 14 months. In all actuality, up until the last couple months, probably 4 or 5 months, I really did not feel like this was even possible. So that's why I want you all to know that it is possible. It does get better and it does get easier. Nobody's saying it's easy, but it does get easier. But first and foremost, the issues you take on coming out of it and the changes you make, you cannot look at that as in it's a burden to you because of your addiction. You need to look at that as your new normal. That's your ground zero. That's your new normal. There's no real definition of what's normal. Everybody's got to go by their own normal. And now, coming out of addiction, for me, all these issues and stuff that I deal with day to day because of it, that's just my normal. That's not an extra stress. That's my normal. And I feel like that mind state has helped me a lot. But all in all, addiction is a very powerful thing. It affects so many people in so many different ways. Like, my mom was raised by, well, not really raised by, she was raised by her mom, my grandma, who I love them both so much, I must say. Without people like that in my life and without my support system, I don't know if this would have been possible for me to achieve what I have achieved, or definitely not as easy, or definitely not as hard of an overcoming as I've met from my addiction. But all in all, my mother had an alcoholic father, so that impacted her very much growing up, and that impacted her lifestyle, and it impacted a lot. And furthermore, it impacted how she brought on to parent me and my brothers, which also, all three of us ended up having issues with addictions or partying and whatnot. But in all actuality, from a young age, I was always aware of the effects that addiction could have. And then furthermore, my one brother was addicted to drugs, very heavy drugs, at a very young age. So I always seen it firsthand how it really tore my family apart. It really did. And in all actuality, like, throughout the whole time, when I was younger, I indulged in drugs. I like, people I looked up to thought they were cool, so I thought they were cool. In all actuality. So I experimented with drugs a lot in my younger years. I did, but nowhere near did I take it on as a habit or whatever, because I saw that impact. And later on in life, when it came to my own addiction, I honestly thought in my head that because I'd gone through so much that I would be a little bit more well prepared and be a little bit more capable of getting through it. But in all actuality, no, we are all humans. These drugs and these chemicals are designed to do this to our body and our brain. They do it for a reason. Majority of these things were designed to keep people addicted, to make them feel good, and a lot of them I feel like were designed with the intention to make a profit, because people will throw their lives away for them. And there's many other reasons as to why a lot of these drugs have entered into our society, and why I feel like they keep on entering into our society, and more new ones are made. But overall, addiction is some real shit. It fucks with a lot of people. It fucks with everybody. And it's something that, coming out of it, really depends so much, like everything else in life, on how bad you want it. Are you going to wake up every day committed to that? Are you going to be consciously making your decisions reflecting of a future of a better outcome? And honestly, it's very hard because so much of the way you have to do it during a feeling like it's never going to change. Like, I felt like that for so long. Like, oh, like, yeah, I'll get better. But it's like, how I feel nowadays, I'll say it before, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. How I feel right now about the issue, I did not think was possible. I just simply did not think I would ever feel this much above my old habits, and this much in control of falling back, and this much in control of my life and really preventing these issues and situations where it could open me up for a relapse or make it easier for me to do it in certain situations or moods, which really has led me to cutting out a lot of people. It really has. One of the first things that I've really changed around was cutting out people. And it happened again. There was another little pinnacle moment, and that was when I hit the year mark. And it wasn't anything that changed well, it kind of did change things in here, but it was my perception of everything around me, because when I hit a year clean from crack cocaine, I was fucking stoked, so proud of myself, and I still am. Now I'm at 14 months. And I'm so fucking proud of it. But one thing that clicked around me is a lot of the people who were on the same journey of recovery, and they just didn't seem to feel and be able to share the same excitement that I was over it, which had me very much questioning a lot of the people that I had left in my life. And furthermore, I've made more cuts and more changes since then. A lot of it really in prevention of setting myself up for situations and moods and stuff that can trigger me to want to relapse, setting up situations that could trigger or make it easily attainable to me if I'm ever in those moods, and so many different things come into play. But I've made a lot of changes, and I continue to make them daily. And I'm always reflecting on what's working and what's not, and moving forward trying to adjust with what is and moving out what's not. And in all actuality, it's the same philosophy with my business. It's the same philosophy with my children. Really, in all actuality, things just come down to how bad you want it to happen and how much you're going to put in to making it happen and how much you're really just going to be committed. It takes day in, day out commitment. And I truly feel like anything great out of life will require that of you. Addiction is another form of that, but it affects so many people, and it's so easy when you're caught up into it to feel hopeless and to feel like there's nothing on the other side, and that whatever you think or see that it's better about you than what you're living is just not attainable. Because I remember feeling that way. I remember seeing the world that way. But shifting my perspective, shifting my lifestyle changes, shifting my habits, so much about it has been my perspective. Excuse me. So much about it has been my perspective. I cannot stress that enough. My perspective of moving through things has changed drastically, and there was no one day or one thing that changed it. It's been bit by bit. It's been a process. Just like everything else that I'm doing and taking on in my life. It's all a process. But it just comes down to how bad do you want it and how much you're willing to work for it. And I'm telling you, people, it's not easy. But nothing good in life is. But in all actuality, these things are affecting so many people. Addiction it's taking away so many fucking lives nowadays that it's just ridiculous. And in all actuality, the one thing that strikes hit close to home with me is no matter how far I come from my addiction, and no matter how much progress I make because of other aspects in my life, addiction still always impacts me. And I still continually feel impacts of it on my life. From how my own addiction has affected people around me, and my own actions from while I was living through my addictions, my actions and my own actions while being addicted, and the way that they've impacted other people around me still impacts me today. And there's just so many different levels of how it still creates impact in my life. And that's why I'm so passionate about trying to spread the message that if you are struggling with addiction, you can make a better life. You really can. You really can, and you fucking deserve it. You really do. There's so much better out there than that instant gratifying feeling. And trust me, I'll be the first to admit, they feel good. They sure as fuck do feel good. But majority of things that feel good and make things easier in the now tend to set up things to be harder in the long run. And that's very much how addiction plays out. And that's kind of continues the cycle because it creates more problems for you to wake up to when you're sober. And that makes it 10 times more easier to want to just sink back into that instant gratifying feeling and just feel good for the now, because it's getting harder and harder and harder to make everything right every time you go through it. But it can be done. It really can be done. Like, if you ask anybody who I partied with or whatever, I lived my life through drugs. Like, if you think of Mr. Leahy off Trailer Park Boys and how he is the liquor or whatever, like, rest in peace. But in all actuality, that's how I felt with crack cocaine. I was the crack. Like, that was my image for the time. So, like, I will be the first to acknowledge that you can get out of it. You can push forward. You can see a better light eventually. You will feel different eventually. You just have to keep pushing through and keep pushing through, and you just have to keep reassuring yourself why you want it, how bad you want it, and why it's not good for you any other way. Like, so much for me is playing the tape through. Like, yeah, if I were to use drugs today, first of all, like today is a perfect example, because honestly, I'm low today. Like, my mood is down here. And it's nothing like, well, there's a lot of situations that are kind of affecting it, but overall, it's like today is a very good day for me to use this example, because playing the tape through, it's like, okay, well, if I were to get fucked up, first of all, that is going to set me back financially, which is going to make me stress tomorrow. Right off the bat, the first thing that I would need to do is spend some money to do it. Actually, no, let's walk it through, because first of all, I would have to message people that I haven't talked to in a long time. And now talking to these people would trigger things in my brain, maybe not today, but say tomorrow or the next day or maybe 6 weeks down the road. Having those wires back in your brain of associating with the same people will make it quicker to pop back into your brain at a future date. So first of all in all, just by making the reach out to somebody to try and acquire drugs, or for me to try and acquire cocaine to cook up for crack, or to try and get some crack, I would automatically have to associate with people that just by associating with them would make it easier and more likely for my brain to fall into the relapse process afterwards, and it gives it more tools to do it with. Furthermore, upon that, if I were to acquire some, that's when the financial part would come in, and I would have to spend some money, which that alone would set me up for more failures tomorrow and more stress tomorrow and more issues to deal with, because those finances make a big difference. A little bit of money can go a long way when you're managing your shit right. And yeah, I know this. So it's like that plays in my head, like, oh, what all could I do with that $100 that I would take to go and buy a gram of coke? That plays through my head. Furthermore, I understand that, yes, I will probably feel great as fuck tonight. I probably will feel amazing. But tomorrow, I quite likely will feel a bit shittier. And I know, because of getting all that serotonin in such a large dose, the next day tomorrow, my brain would not be producing it as much. So it's setting me up for another low tomorrow. And if I'm even producing a little bit today and I'm feeling low, well, think of how I would be tomorrow if I actually did some shit and I wasn't producing any serotonin. You know, I would be back down here. And that's another thing that plays the tape through. So it's like, furthermore, it will set me up for future moods where stressors and different things of life will get more to me. I would be more irritable. I would be a lot more frustrated with things, and it just sets it up for everything else furthermore to trigger that same process again and again and again. Now, furthermore, it also sets you up for mood swings. It reverts the process back, because as much as I'm 14 months now, if I were to use tonight, and for instance, and then tomorrow, that would set me back. It might not set me back to square one as being as hard as it was maybe, but in all actuality, it very much could. And that's a risk I do not want to take, because it very much could set my progress back to square one. But regardless, it would set me back a bit no matter what. no matter what, if I were to make that choice, it would make it from here on out a lot easier to want to make that choice and a lot harder to not make it again. It's just plain and simple. It will make it harder. So I play the tapes through, and that's how so much of my recovery process has come along, because I constantly thinking, well, what if this happens? So what could happen from that if I choose this? What else could be affected? And then furthermore, it's like just the guilt of doing it makes you feel so bad about yourself. Like, so many times it lowers your personal perception of your value, because you start to feel like, oh my god, look what I did to myself. Why am I doing this shit again? And and it's like, you don't have to. You really don't have to do it again, because it's better to not. If you're going out to get that instant gratification, it will set things up for future ramifications. And honestly, nowadays it's impacting so many people around us, and it always has, really, but it's like there's people dying at an exponential rate nowadays compared to any other time because of drug overdoses and stuff. And in all actuality, it's something that doesn't need to be happening. It's something that these issues can be worked out. It's something that, a lot of these people are going to use these drugs to not kill themselves. It's like a last line of defense, when you've had enough in life and you don't want to feel anymore, well, that's a very viable option, to not feel anymore but not take it all away. But now what's happening, especially with a lot of these new drugs on the market, and I'll be the first to say, it's not the street dealers making them in their basements. It's not the street dealers in a little rundown apartment making carfentanil and making fentanyl. Like, these things are coming out from corporations, usually with government funding and shit. So it's like they're taking lives away when people are already feeling like not living, first of all. And it's just crazy on so many different levels. But in all actuality, I want to get back to something, because if you are struggling with addiction, or you are going through these problems, or you use drugs or whatever, I just want you to know, first of all, you are better than that. That doesn't define you, first of all, but you are better than that. It doesn't make you less, but you could be adding more value to your life by showing yourself the true value that you actually deserve, because you are better than that shit. There is a better life out there. And it seems impossible. It might seem like I'm just talking shit. It might seem in your head like it can't be done, really. Like it seemed in my head. Like I never felt like I would feel like this again. I never felt like this was possible, but it is. I'm here now and I'm feeling it. I feel so much more powerful than those drugs in my life. I really do. I feel so much better about myself that I just don't need them anymore. And I'm telling you, the same thing can happen for you. It's a process. It takes hard fucking work. It takes constant commitment, and nobody's saying it's going to be easy. Nobody is, but it's simple. You keep doing it. You keep pushing forward. You just keep making the steps. You keep thinking about things that are going to maybe cause these issues for you and prevent them. You have to be proactive about making changes, or else nothing will really change. And that just really goes across the board in life. So I think that's where I'm going to end this off. And I hope you all have a good day. And just one more time, if you are falling victim to addiction, or this is burdening your life, trust me, there is better out there. There is more out of life, and you do fucking deserve it. You can get it. You can have it. You just have to work for it. You need to wake up every day and understand that's what you want more than what you're doing in the moment. And make a choice that reflects it. Really. Take where you want to go and where you want to be, and just start making one choice at a time that reflects that. And day by day, you will keep seeing more and more progress. Day by day, you will see shifts in your perspective. You will see shifts in your life. Situations will put more things into perspective for you if you're questioning your perspective. But you just have to keep making steps towards where you want to go and what you want out of life. You just do it one step at a time, one day at a time, and I'm telling you, you can get there. You can do it. And you deserve it. So do the people around you. They really do. So once again, I hope you all have a blessed day, and I love you all.